In this video, I'm going to discuss the difference between a fixed annuity and an indexed annuity. What are some things to be aware of, and then how to avoid the most common mistakes if you're looking to set up a fixed annuity for your retirement situation or just for your growth situation, and the same thing with an indexed annuity, making sure that you're not getting handcuffed to the wrong carrier. What are some different ways to make sure that you're spotting whether something is correct or is more kind of a smoke and mirrors approach that some of these insurance companies like to play. So at any point in time as you're reviewing this, if there's specific questions that you want to speak to a specialist, feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's up at the screen. It's 1-800-566-1002. And we'll be sure to just reference this video, and we'll be sure to help answer any questions that you have. Simply put, a fixed annuity is producing a fixed interest rate each year based upon the duration of that contract. So if you're in a 5-year fixed annuity as an example, and let's say that you're receiving 3% per year, you understand that you're going to be receiving 3% the first year, 3% the second year, 3% the third year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now the difference between a fixed annuity and like a bank CD would be a bank CD would grow with simple interest, where a fixed annuity will grow with the power of compound interest. So you're having 3% off of the previous value, which I'll show you different examples along the way. A fixed index annuity is very similar, but instead of receiving a set interest rate every single year, you're receiving an interest gain based upon the index that it's linked to, or you're going to receive a 0% gain every year. So the main reason why someone would leverage a fixed index annuity over a fixed annuity is by having a higher growth potential, but somebody would utilize a fixed annuity over a fixed index annuity if they're not concerned with the growth potential, if they just want to have a flat rate of return every year. So if we look at an example, this is an annuity account value formula, just like any sort of account formula. It goes by contributions and rate of return equals what the size of this bucket is. When you're placing monies into a fixed annuity or fixed indexed annuity, you could utilize these monies from rollovers from a traditional IRA, from a Roth IRA account, or you could utilize non-qualified monies, something sitting in your checking, your savings, a brokerage account. You could go and roll over these monies into this, or transfer these monies into this type of account. So conceptually, think about it as that transfer, that rollover being the contribution into your bucket. The other side of the coin, or the other piece of this puzzle, goes by rate of return. So if you're in a fixed annuity, just like you have an investment account or account that you're throwing money underneath your mattress, if depending upon what that rate of return is either going to come back positive or it's going to come back negative. When you have a fixed annuity or fixed indexed annuity, there are no negatives, downward market losses that are associated with those types of accounts. So you'll either be receiving a positive every year, or you'll be receiving a positive or 0% every year. I'm going to show you the example of those two, especially when I'm going into the mistakes section of this video. But just be mindful that the way on how this account grows is by the contribution somebody's making into this plan, and then the rate of return that's coming back. A fixed annuity is going to produce a fixed interest rate. A indexed annuity is going to receive an index interest rate. So it's going to either be positive or it's going to be 0%. So it's going to gain when the market goes up or that index increases each year, or gain 0% whenever that index goes down. Typically, with fixed indexed annuities and even fixed annuities, there's no fees associated with that account. Now, you have to be very careful because you want to make sure to avoid the accounts that have fees. There are some accounts that have fees. The ones that we typically recommend to clients do not have fees, and they're what I kind of coined the term naked fixed annuities or naked fixed index annuities. So you don't have all these different bells and whistles and, excuse my language, shit that's attached onto this type of account that might not be necessary. And once again, to reiterate, a fixed annuity or fixed indexed annuity, this could be funded by qualified funds, such as a rollover from a 401k account into a traditional IRA. It could be set up as a transfer from a traditional IRA to a traditional IRA. You could have a conversion, like a traditional IRA to a Roth conversion, and it could be a conversion into this type of account or these types of accounts, a Roth to Roth, or if you're taking cash monies, it's known as a non-qualified, either fixed annuity or non-qualified fixed indexed annuity. So the reason why I bring this section up is a lot of times individuals think an IRA is something different than an annuity. And that's not the case, or a non-qualified account is different than an annuity. And once again, that's not the case. You could have a fixed indexed annuity as an example that's set up in an IRA, and then you could also have a fixed indexed annuity that's set up through a non-qualified account. This is just how it gets taxed. An IRA is set up by pre-tax monies. It grows tax deferred, so when you pull these monies out, you get fully taxable on those dollars, as opposed to a Roth, which it will grow tax-free. It's post-tax monies. It grows tax-free. When you try to pull out monies from a Roth, it comes out tax-free. A non-qualified account works a little bit different, where you're placing the monies in post-tax. The monies are growing with the power of compound interest. It's growing with a type of tax deferral. But when you're pulling monies out, a portion of it is going to be tax-free. That's going to be your principal. And then a portion of it's going to be taxable, known as through your interest as ordinary income. And I'm going to show you an example of how you can leverage one of these products or both of these products with a specific retirement situation. If you want to, if you're more risk averse, you want to, reduce the amount of unnecessary risk that your portfolio is taking on. So avoid the common mistakes. So now I'm going to go over the common mistakes off of when somebody's trying to set up a fixed annuity, and the common mistakes of when someone's trying to set up a fixed indexed annuity, an example of these two. And the first mistake on the fixed annuity side is when somebody's looking at the nice shiny object. And this is unfortunately a situation that a lot of insurance companies, it's a game that they like to play and advisors like to play with clients. And what I mean by that is you might have a consistent fixed annuity where it's saying you're going to get X amount of percentage into your account for 5 years or 7 years, and it's not going to be different. Every year is going to be the same. It's going to be consistent. Or you might have another company that says, we're going to give you this high bonus, so it makes it seem like you're going to get that rate of return every year, but after that first year, your interest rate will drop significantly. So what do I mean by that? So I have two examples up on the screen. Let's say if you have $100,000 and you're looking to place money into a fixed annuity because you say, hey, I want to have a fixed interest rate. I just want to know that if I put my money in there, it's not going to be hindered with downward market losses. It's not going to get hit with different fees. I just want to put my monies in there. And after 5 years, this example is going to be a 5-year example. After 5 years, I want to remove my money or remove a portion of these dollars. So with company A, it's giving the nice shiny object. It's saying if you give us $100,000, we're going to give you a 5% bonus on your first day. So this individual is looking at this as, wow, 5%, that's great. Or you could go with company B that says we're going to give you 3% fixed rate of return every year for the next 5 years. Which one would you go with? Well, initially you think, okay, 5%, that's higher than 3%, that's not a problem. But when you actually look at the math behind it, be mindful that these numbers are going to roll up with the power of compound interest because it's growing tax deferred. After the first year, this is going to grow from 100,000 to 105,000, then a 106 to a 50, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. After 5 years, this account balance would be sitting at 109,263. So if somebody accidentally fell victim to that nice shiny object of saying, okay, 5% bonus, they didn't look at the other terms of that contract that says actually they'll drop down to 1% after that first year, will be 1% for years 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's what this would look like, as opposed to going and being more even keel and saying, okay, well, mathematically, which one is going to generate me more or a higher account balance, a higher type of guaranteed account balance after those 5 years. And that's what it would be with company B, which is giving 3% per year for 5 years. So after the first year is 103, then 106, et cetera, et cetera. And then this would be 115,000, which is significantly higher, thousands of more dollars higher than this one because you did not fall victim to that shiny object. Now, be mindful of that sort of concept because there's further smoke and mirrors, and excuse my language, further bullshit that insurance companies like to play with the fixed annuity game. So the ones that I like to see are more typical towards this clean faction. This nice, okay, you put your monies in here, you know exactly what you're going to get every year. It's a higher interest rate than what the majority of the fixed annuities are. They're actually called MYGAs, multi-year guaranteed annuities. So if you ever heard that marketing term MYGA, that's what that's referring to. But to be in a clean product, as opposed to you have some out there that will say, okay, you're going to get this interest rate every year, but then there's going to be different rider attachments onto these accounts. So if I'm taking the example of company B, you might have one offer that looks very clean, just like what I have up on the screen, and then another offer that might say, okay, we're going to give you 3.1% per year for the next 5 years, but then you have these different rider charges. So one of them might be a liquidity rider saying, hey, if you ever want to access your monies or access up to 10% of your monies, we're going to charge you 25 basis points or 0.25%. That's going to be a charge onto that account. Let's say you want to leave whatever your account value is as a death benefit. They might charge you another 25 basis points or 0.5%. So after all fees are incorporated in there, it might strip this down from a clean-looking 3% or 3.10% interest rate every year. You might only be able to net 2% interest rate every year because you had a lot of smoke and mirrors that were attached to this account. So the ones that I like to see are very clean. They just say, okay, this is what you're going to get. If you pass away, whatever that day is that you pass away and the account balance is, that's what's going to over to beneficiaries. If let's say you have IRA monies and you have a required minimum distribution that you have to pull out, a lot of these are RMD friendly. Some of them there's a charge for that required minimum distribution. So you just want to be very careful when you're going and you're getting set up with a MYGA, you're getting set up with a fixed annuity, avoiding those mistakes. If you have any questions, if you want to see whether or not it will pertain, to your specific situation, you want some help, obviously feel free to give us a call. And be mindful, the reason why a lot of individuals like to go into fixed indexed annuities, especially during today's time, is because of the current interest rate environment. Bank CDs and fixed annuities used to be so simple for retirement income planning. And what I mean by that is you used to have interest rates in double-digit figures. So let's say if you had a 5-year bank CD that was paying 10%, and somebody took a combination of $1 million and spread that out across different accounts, and they were receiving 10% rate of return, they'd be able to live off of this interest rate of $100,000 every year for, let's say, these 5 years. You're just living off the interest, living off the interest, living off the interest. After 5 years are done, you could take whatever's remaining in the account balance and then purchase a new 5-year bank CD, or you could ladder out those strategies. Well, unfortunately, things have gone by the wayside. Interest rates have gone by the wayside. So now that 10% or that 12% or 14% interest rates or rate of return on a bank CD or a fixed annuity is now looking at 2%, 3%, maybe 3 and change if you're lucky. So you can't get that sort of safe rate of return like you used to be able to. And that's why you want to be very careful, because if you hear a company that says, oh, we're going to give you an 8% guarantee or a 7% guarantee, you really have to look at the fine print, because there's usually some smoke and mirrors there. There's usually something that you're not going to have such a high jump of an outlier that says how much gain are you going to have in your physical money, because it just comes down to simple math and simple risk. If it's too risky to the insurance company and they can't be profitable, they're not going to be giving you that offer. So just kind of take yourself out of the situation. Don't get emotionally attached to these things. Make sure that you're being very consistent with this. So this is what brings me to the fixed index annuity and some of the smoke and mirrors that come out regarding fixed index annuities. If interest rates are lower and somebody wants to get a potential higher interest rate, but they do not want to decrease the safety, meaning that if the market's crashing every single year, they want to make sure that at least their principal is preserved, protected. That's why they would leverage a fixed index annuity. Versus the fixed annuity, it will just be a fixed interest rate every year. So if, as an example, if let's say the market goes up 10% and somebody's in a fixed annuity that's paying 3%, they're going to get 3% into their account. If the market lost 10%, the one with the fixed interest rate is going to, and of a fixed annuity paying 3%, they're going to get 3%. So it doesn't matter what the market's doing. With a fixed index annuity, what you're doing is you're capturing a portion of the index of the market based upon whatever that index is, and whatever those terms are for that specific account. You're going to gain whenever that index increases, either on 1 year or 2 year point to point, or if those indexes come back negative, well, then you have a floor of 0%. So it's going to gain or gain zero, gain or gain zero. So you want to have something that will give you a higher interest rate potential than being handcuffed to that low fixed interest rate environment. So if we look at the example, let's say somebody puts in a deposit of $100,000 and there's a product that has a 10% cap on that specific index. Let's say it was the S&P 500 as an example of this index in this hypothetical example. The first year, the index gains 20%. Well, if there's a cap to this sort of account of 10%, then only 10% would get dropped into that bucket. So kind of think of that bucket idea. There's no more contributions going to that plan. That's what the 100,000 was. Now this rate of return side, if it gained 20%, you're capped at 10. You're going to have a 10% gain. It's going to be equivalent to somebody opening up the lid of your bucket, pouring the gain inside, and then closing your bucket. Now you have 110,000 after that first year. Second year, the index came back minus 20%. This is going to gain 0 because you have that floor of 0. So it went from 110,000 to 110,000. The next year, it gains 5%. So you're going to gain 5% because the cap is 10. You're not going to get 10%. You're going to get up to that 10%. So if this gained 5, that's going to get 5% in there. And same thing, it's going to be power of compound interest in there. So that's why it's not a $5,000 gain. It's a $5,500 gain because it's 5% of this $110,000 number. The next year, the index, let's say, lost 7%. This is going to stay at 115,500. The next year, it gains 11%. 11% is higher than the cap of 10, so you're going to get 10%. So it would have said, okay, in this example, let's say you were with a 5-year fixed index annuity versus the 5-year fixed annuity that was paying 3%. This 5-year fixed index annuity, even though there was some ebb and flows that were going on, you never were going down when the market was going down, and you were able to capture those gains when the market went up. So this account balance would be 127,050 as an example. Where fixed index annuities become a large problem is if they have low cap limits. So you'll see this a lot. Is conceptually, it sounds great. Gains when the market goes up, doesn't lose when the market goes down, but you have a majority of fixed index annuities out there, and even fixed annuities out there, they have very low rates of return or very low cap limits. So you want to always find the sweet spot. Okay, which one will give you maybe not even a cap, an uncapped index that has a good participation rate, or uncapped with a specific spread to make sure that you could have a double-digit rate of return, in a given year, a potential double-digit rate of return in a given year. So be mindful, this fixed index annuity, because you're not taking on as much risk as if you took these monies and you threw it into an index fund or an index mutual fund or ETFs or whatever that is, because that's going to ebb and flow with the market. This is going to gain when the market goes up, not lose when it goes down. Because you are not taking on as much risk, you're not going to have as high of a rate of return or as high of a potential rate of return as you would if you just risked your money in the market. So there is a place for it, but you just want to be very careful when you're navigating through these things, and you want to make sure that you're getting set up with an advisory group that knows how to, how to leverage the correct pieces and really, cherry pick the correct routes on either a fixed annuity or a fixed index annuity side. And this is why I say only a handful of good offers from over 1,000 options. So I might have a client situation where it comes back that they have 1,100 different offers, but out of those 1,100 different offers, maybe 7 of them are good. Out of those 7, maybe 2 of them are very good. So the numbers, the odds, whenever you see bad press about a fixed index annuity or fixed annuity, majority of that is justified because you have enough bullshit out there that will drown out any of the good ones. The good ones are really diamonds in the rough, but they do exist. So don't just completely pass that off and saying, oh, this is a, I should definitely not leverage this as part of my portfolio because it could be very beneficial for an individual situation, could be your situation. Really just comes down to what you're trying to accomplish by leveraging this type of account or these types of accounts. So now I'm going to go over an example and how you could really leverage an indexed annuity or fixed index annuity for your type of portfolio, making sure that you're doing it correctly. So this is where I come up with this concept of the 3 things scenario. So there's 3 things that every individual needs to figure out before they're retired or if they're currently retired, how to stay retired forever. And those 3 things, the first thing comes down to income, second thing comes down to emergency, and then the third thing comes down to growth. So with income, is this individual's income sources, are they covered? Do they have more than enough income in retirement that are greater than or equal to what their expenses are? So let's say somebody's age 65 and they're receiving $30,000 of Social Security income and $40,000 of pension income. Well, then their step 1 is covered because they're getting $70,000 of some guaranteed cash flow that they now do not have to create a plan, create some sort of distribution strategy for that step 1. if let's say they have $1 million of total assets and their expenses are 50,000, maybe out of this $1 million, they might want to take 50,000 of this and just throw it into a money market account or a checking account, savings account, making sure that if they ever come into an oh my gosh moment, that they could pull from these monies and have them set up for their emergency need. So now it leaves us with 950,000 towards a growth/inflationary protection need. So out of this, it really depends upon what the person's risk tolerance is. If somebody's risk averse and they absolutely hate the market, or they like a portion of their dollars to be set up in the market while another portion of their dollars they want to make sure is set up towards more fixed income and more of that bond related space, that's where the indexed annuity and the fixed annuities, that's their world. That's what these type of accounts could be set up. So then after figuring out the person's risk tolerance and really what their appetite for risk is, maybe they want to see, 650,000 of these monies set up into different low-cost ETFs, no-load mutual funds, whatever is, appropriate to, what they could see ebb and flow with the market. And then they have this remaining 300,000 that they don't want to have any downward market losses, or they don't want to have any fees associated with, with their sort of accounts. So this is where they could go and splice it up. Maybe they might want to leverage a little bit into bank products, a little bit into fixed annuities, a little bit into fixed index annuities, or a larger portion of fixed index annuity because they know that they're going to have no downward market losses, but could still have capture those gains. So it just puts them in a more diversified portfolio, or allows their overall portfolio to be set up more along the lines of a plan, not just setting it up all towards risk. If their mindset is risk averse and they really do not like to take on that unnecessary risk. So there's a lot of really neat features that you could do with these things, and by really fixating in on the three-thing scenario, that's the generic concept of it. That could at least help you out and put you on the correct path to see, okay, how can you cherry pick an index annuity, fixed annuity, and then which one might be better for your situation. Feel free to give us a call if you have any questions. If all you have to do is just give our 1-800 number a call, 1-800-566-1002, and then reference this video. We delve in a little bit further, a little bit deeper dive into the three-thing scenario. So we patented we trademarked a process known as the retirement diet plan. And it's an acronym of DIET, stands for distribution, investments, estate, and then taxes, making sure that you're very specific with every angle that you're taking based upon what your goals are. So we sit down, we help you create a budgeting analysis, see what your expenses are, see what your current cash flows are, see if there's a gap in your cash flows, how to create that properly. And then if there's specific areas where you could go and include different insurance-related products, such as an index annuity or fixed annuity, how to do that properly, how to make sure you're setting up with investments or estate planning needs, tax Roth conversions, whatever that is. So be sure to give us a call, or at least check out our website and download some of our free white papers, some of our free reports, so you get further educated on your situation. When going to our website, you'll have a little icon will pop up, a little calendar appointment, so you can book it. But you'll be able to see how our process works. And in this post-COVID era, if you feel more comfortable doing some Zoom meetings, Zoom chats, or face-to-face, it's really whatever your comfort level is. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you're educated. So make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so that you could have access to the most updated videos. I'm going to try to update this content. I'm going to try to create a couple of videos every week just to make sure that you're fresh with with the current economic environment. You're fresh with some of this terminology. And once again, feel free to reach out to us if you need anything, and we'll be sure to try to help out your retirement planning situation and help answer any questions that you have. Thanks so much, guys.